Welcome to another episode of the Women Veteran Entrepreneurs Podcast. My name is Omar Mohammed, helping you improve and progress in business and in life. My co-host over there is retired Major General Dr. Linda Say. I gotta get it all out.
I know, Omar,
and this
too much.
This sounds good. So this podcast is all about a network for building capacity. It's powered by Truist Bank. Glad to have you all with us. And if you want to see past episodes of the Wave podcast, it's at edacmorgan.com. That's EDAC Morgan.com. We're also on Instagram and on Twitter at Wave. That's WVE podcast. So you can find us there. So every week or every month, I should say, we have a women veteran entrepreneur, and I'm super happy to interview. I'm super happy to interview everybody, by the way, but super happy to interview this person. And her name is Andrea Jackson. She's an entrepreneur. So we're going to kind of do something different this time, but let's at least welcome her to the Wave Veteran, Women Veteran Podcast, Entrepreneurs Podcast. Hey, Adrian.
Hey there.
Adrian.
Welcome,
Andrea.
Come on, Omar, after almost 30.
I know.
My name.
I was interviewing somebody, Adrian, last one. So Andrea, so welcome. So let's start off with this. What branch of the military did you serve in, and how many years did you serve?
I served in the United States Army, contract a total of 8 years. And it was actually the entire time, it was a great experience for anyone who is looking to go in the military. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, especially as an 18-year-old coming out of high school with no direction.
All right, good deal. Appreciate that. And thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's talk about, being in the Army and those transferable skills that led you to entrepreneurship. What were some of those transferable skills?
Well, the first thing, honestly speaking, so when most people look at my resume, they can look at all of the wonderful things I've done, but once they see that United States Army, it gives them pause. And every single position that I've held, including the one I'm holding now, was really, I was hired because I did have a military background. And because the first thing, people would say, that means discipline. You're a disciplined person. And so a lot of the transferable skills for me was that discipline. It takes discipline. I don't care if you work a 4-hour job. I don't care what occupation is. It takes discipline and focus to be able to hold down a job. And I mean that, a lot of people, I'm not sure what it is that, and I always tell people from just my perspective, you should treat your job as if you were an entrepreneur. They are hiring you for your expertise. People are not hiring you for you to come and occupy space. They're paying you for your expertise, and entrepreneurs are paid for their expertise. Yeah. And so I teach my staff to be entrepreneurs in that respect, that you're the subject matter experts. I hired you for your expertise. The other transferable skill was leadership. It doesn't matter what your rank is in the military. At some point, whether you were a guide-on or a platoon leader or a flag carrier, you've held a leadership position, and it gives you a level of responsibility. And so leadership is one of those transferable skills that I learned in the military. And also teamwork. Teamwork is one of those, everything in the military was the buddy system, buddy system, or you're doing it in a team. And so teamwork is what makes the dream work. And that is real. And it is. It is. And that's another transferable skill that helped me be successful in the marketplace.
All right, good deal. And so what led you on this entrepreneurial journey?
My family, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. And I recently took a personality assessment test, and I shocked everybody when it came back that I was a creative.
Okay.
Shocking
I
you
can
too.
see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. No, I can
and,
see that.
and most entrepreneurs, when I say creative, people automatically veer towards the arts.
Arts, yeah.
And, and that's not me. I can't draw a straight line. I can tell you that. I can't sing a note. But I can organize the heck out of something.
Yeah.
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 But my personality came back as a creative. And, to me, I was always that person. I like independence. I like to think, I like to be analytical. I like a challenge. And I like to create, be productive and just create in terms of whatever my end product is. I don't care if I'm writing a paper, it's the end product. And so for me, that assessment was an eye opener for me, because when I started to read the assessments, it said, you should be an entrepreneur.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly what it said. And I was like, okay, now I get me, because personality traits there that all pointed towards being an entrepreneur. But I am also a fourth generation entrepreneur. My parents, they were farmers in the South, and they sold their products at local grocery stores and on the roadside stands. My father was he owned a construction company. So he started out as a tile setter, and then he grew that from there. My great grandparents were also farmers. I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. I'm not doing that type of work, but yet it's still, I have that entrepreneurial spirit where I prefer to be developing, creating, using my expertise to share in a marketplace. So that's what led me on the road. And then I'm actually, my sister, she's owned a daycare for like 35, 40 years now. Yeah.
Wow.
Working with little children it runs in the family. It runs. And my son, same thing. Yeah. So it runs in the
Very cool. And my hat's off to her for doing the little children, because that would be the one.
Mine too.
Yeah, my mother did it for 30 years.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Let me tell you, that's a special kind of person.
It is.
And my sister, she is. I just watched the way she worked with those children. And it takes a special kind of person to be able to finagle 7 kids at one time, which, by the way, my mother did. She didn't run a daycare. We were all her children. And I only had one. It takes a special kind of person to be able to do that. And I actually called my sister the baby whisperer, because wherever we go, if there's a child crying, she's going to answer the call. Going to help that parent out.
Right. Yes.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. So talk to us about your business, the business that you created.
So the business that I created, I actually became an accidental entrepreneur. My background is in community economic development, economic inclusion, supplier diversity, and that was even accidental, because that really wasn't where I was going. But back in 2000, when a former mayor of Baltimore City was created a minority business enterprise office, he said he needed someone who understood the city. And I was working as a community development officer in the city. It was quite gritty work that I was doing, actually, but helping to build communities, to enhance communities, basically, and to sort of turn over some of the communities who had challenges. So when he came to office, he was my council person and had never stepped foot in my district. But
that's funny.
But he knew the work that I was doing, and he had, he heard about what I was doing. And so I got a call, hey, I'm starting this new office up. I need someone who understands the city, and I need to have, someone to come in and become like a deputy director. And I told him no. And he was like, okay. Weeks later, I got a call back. What, can you at least come talk to me? And I was like, I really don't want to be in politics. So I went to talk to him, but it was interesting because I went in there with these braids in my hair, some Timberland boots on, some jeans, and a plaid shirt. That is my interview. Wow. And we had the conversation, and he was like, he shared with me what his vision was for the city and what he really wanted to do. And I was like, okay. And he said, okay, so when you come back, just look a little better. I was like, okay, cool. That.
Wow.
Well, you know what? Okay, here's the thing. I wasn't in a mayor's department. I wasn't in an agency somewhere. I was in his office.
Okay.
So he did not have me on the floor. He did not have me. Yeah, he had me in his office. So,
Oh, okay.
So he really wanted to make sure that minorities and women across Baltimore City had equal access to public funding, to contracting opportunities. He wanted to build the capacity of minority and women-owned firms across the city to do business with the city. And he said, Andrea, we just don't, we haven't done a good job at it. And it's something that I would like for you to focus on. And so that became my focus. And so I worked for 4 years doing that. And it was a trial and error. And but the first year, I think we spent $44 million with minority and women-owned firms. And my 4th year, which I told him I was only giving him 4 years, and I gave him 4 years, he told me to get him to 6 figures, and we were up to 105 million. And so that was a process in itself. I didn't realize that I could do that, honestly. And it was something, like I said, it was trial and error. And it was using those military skills, being analytical, looking at it. We're problem solvers as well, too. Being analytical, figuring things out, looking at it, taking that leadership role. And I was in my early 30s, and there were a lot of people who were not happy with me when I came in with the mayor's authority and said, hey, we're going to change some stuff in, the way we do business in the city, because we had to change systems. We had to change policy. We had to change practices. We even changed procurement officers because some people have favorites. And so we start switching folks around. It's like, okay, you've been doing this for 30 years, but we're going to put you over here now. So we had to make those types of changes. And it wasn't popular, but it was effective. And that's really how I got into it. And, after I left, the city and worked for another big corporation, communications corporation, I was like, hey, I can do this on my own. So why not?
Absolutely. So I know what it is, but let everybody else know what it is.
It was interesting because the concept to start my own business came to me while I was doing the work with the city. It's like, you're telling people and you're helping people grow their business. People are making millions of dollars off of your advice. Like, you can do this yourself. And so I had a concept in my head. My company's DPN group. DPN stands for Developing Profitable Nonprofits, because I had to work with nonprofit agencies to help them grow entrepreneurs. And that was the original name of it. So then I changed it to Diversity Professionals Network. So, but again, was my goal. So DPN group, and I had a compliance monitoring company. So I worked with a lot of the larger projects across the city. Most people know me from the East Baltimore Biotech Park. I worked with the West Baltimore Biotech Park, Harbor East. They were one of my big projects that I worked with. LifeBridge Health have done work with them. A lot of the transitioning public housing unit that they were now making for-profit units, like the O'Donnell Heights project. I worked with them on that one, and also a couple of other ones. So so a lot of the projects I worked with were like really large scale projects, doing compliance monitoring and workforce development. So workforce development, in my community development days, I would work with ex-offenders, particularly helping them to find jobs, be placed on jobs. One of our projects was that they painted, well, a lot of people don't know that Baltimore City ex-offenders painted the Woodrow Wilson Bridge between Maryland and Virginia. One
I
of my
didn't know that. I
projects.
knew that they do a lot of different activities, but I didn't know that. So, wow.
They did. They painted that Woodrow Wilson Bridge. I worked with parole and probation. We were able to acquire a van and take these men to and from work every day. We're talking about back in 2000 and the late 90s, 2001 or whatever. They made $22 an hour. And we did it because a lot of them had outstanding child support debt, had to stay employed in order to stay out of jail, and they just needed to live. And so we were successful into getting that partnership with the contractor to get some of our ex-offenders jobs. And so I continued that practice into my own business, making sure that, folks who were considered disadvantaged or who were underemployed or unemployable were able to have access to jobs. So that was
good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So I know this, but everybody else don't know. So I just recently learned this. So DPN, it's on hold right now.
It is. Everybody, when you're an entrepreneur, you run into some life challenges and some with mental health challenges. And so, I had to regroup. It's on hold. It's not dead. It's not going away. It's on.
Right.
And so, I had to sort of shift. But in my shift, this is the thing. So I'm still doing what I love. I'm still working in that arena with minority, women-owned, disadvantaged small businesses, helping them to get contracts for a government agency, and also in workforce development. But what I did was I'm working in a different industry. So this particular industry, I've always worked in building construction. My industry, I know building construction. I'm not an engineer. I do not have an engineering background. Put a building up. And I know what it takes, and I know all of the moving parts of who's involved and what the process takes. I've never worked in roadway and highway transportation construction. That is a totally, completely different industry when you think about construction. And so for the last 3 years, I've been working in the heavy highway, civil engineering, transportation industry. So what I did was I'm just getting a new, enhancing my skill sets, to make myself a little bit more marketable. Now I know building construction. Oh, now I know roadway construction. So once I do go back to my business, then I have more to offer in terms of my services that I can offer.
Right. And, Andrea, we had the conversation about that. I wasn't surprised because, I've been working with entrepreneurs for a number of years. And, sometimes you do take that pause and you either go back or you do something else. And, sometimes entrepreneurs think that that's a failure, and it's really not a failure. It's, what you said is, skill development, and you really just needed to take a pause.
Entrepreneurs sometimes, we work incredible hours. And this is not, and for women in particular, I'm gonna say this, and this is my opinion, but women, we take the weight of the world on our shoulders, whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's community, we do that. Everything. We taking care of the neighbors' kids, our kids, the brothers' kids, and everybody else's kids. At the same time, we're working, we're on community boards, we're doing a whole lot of things, and we just take the weight of the world on our shoulder. And so self-care is important, and it's something that we really have not paid attention to, except for the last couple of years. It's become a mantra of self-care. Because we feel like as nurturers, natural nurturers, we just take care of people, in that we can forget to take care of ourselves. And so for me, I don't think it's a failure. I think it's I think for me, I think I was smart to realize that I needed to take care and that I couldn't work 23 hours a day. Needed to step back and take a pause. But in taking my pause, I said, if I do anything, I'm gonna do what I love to do. And I knew I had sets and enough connections to do what I love to do. I just wasn't gonna just say, okay, anything. So where I am now, this was the only job I applied for. I didn't apply for any other job because I already knew I had the confidence that I was gonna get it. And then I knew that whatever I did, I wanted to do what I love, but I wanted to do something that challenged me and that made me grow. And so this is another skill set that I learned is this whole virtual thing. I've done virtual conferences. I was the person that I was like, what, Instagram? Oh, I'm gonna leave that to the young kids. I was that person. I wasn't interested in growing in technology. And being here where I am now, it forced me to embrace technology in a way I had never done before. So all business is conducted in a virtual environment. Conferences are done. I know too much about virtual platforms and different things because, where I am now, I've just finished up last week, my third virtual conference. I do trainings virtually, interviews virtually. I know platforms, systems, the whole 9 yards, YouTube stuff I was never interested in. So it gave me a different perspective on embracing technology for business. And so I'm thankful for where I am now, because again, it helped me to grow and to develop at a level that if I had not paused, I probably would not have grown to.
And I appreciate that, Dr. Singh and I were talking about, interviewing these women veteran entrepreneurs, and, a couple of them did mention, mental health and self-care, and it is truly important. And somehow as entrepreneurs, that has to be put in a business plan, if you will.
It does.
Something about healthcare, self-care, mental health, because moving forward, it's going to be a challenge if you don't have that. And if it's just you and you're working on these multiple contracts all the time, and you're doing the work, you're doing the marketing, doing the networking, that could burn you out, or it could disrupt your body and your mental, if you will. So, I appreciate you coming on and sharing that with us.
And I think too, you're right. I think people need to put that in their business plan.
Yeah.
Moving forward, if you're working or on developing a business idea, I think that should be something you put in your business plan, because one thing, your body and your mind and your soul and your spirit has to reset itself. You can't, pushing and pushing it. Just like, recently I was watching an entertainer who was performing and then passed out. You get a lot of it because they pushed themselves, and now they're forced to go on these leaves because they were too busy not taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, it has to be something that you add to your plan. What is your self-care plan as an entrepreneur? How do you intend on, we talk about sustainability. How do you intend on sustaining your own health, well-being, and your mental health?
That's correct. Yeah.
Your mind can get burnt out as well. And it doesn't have to be, in a negative way. I remember one time talking to someone, and they were talking back at me, and they started to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. And the way I was looking at the person, they stopped and they said, "Are you okay?" And I actually said, this is my exact words. I said, "I didn't understand a thing you said. I couldn't comprehend it because my brain cannot take another thing in it." And I actually said those words. Immediately, I booked myself a 2-week vacation, and I went to Puerto Rico, and I had to regroup. Shouldn't come to that. That should be in your plan. Self-care is critical. There are a lot of people with hopes and dreams who are in nursing homes. I had a 24-year-old niece that had a stroke. You never know what's going to happen to your to your physical man if you're not taking care of it. So I agree with that. Yes, it should be.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, it's nothing else to say about that. It's just do it,
Yeah, just do it.
It's same with me, I was just saying, and I don't know when last time I had a vacation, just pushing and pushing. But I don't want to push too much, so yeah, sometimes we gotta listen. And your body tells you, that, hey, it's time for you to take a time out. Take a time
and listen to that time out. And it's a reason why your body is telling you that. It listens to time out.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah. So for those women that are tuned in, I mean, you heard it. You got to add that self-care to your business plan. So that, and just do it. Don't just add it and don't make it happen. You have to make sure that you actually go out and take care.
Has to be added to your schedule. I mean, that's what I do. I add it to my schedule.
Yes. Absolutely. All right. What other advice, Andrea, would you give to women that are entrepreneurs?
Well, other advice I would give is, first and foremost, don't beat yourself up. If it doesn't happen right away. We live in the microwave society. Everything instantaneously, and it doesn't always happen that way. Like I said, when my business idea first hit me, I was actually working for the city, but I never, acted on it. But what I began to do was I began to jot down things that, I wanted to do when I did open up my own business. And I would write it, just every day I would write something towards it. And it was interesting when I finally pulled it all together. I was actually on a leave of absence, and it was a health leave of absence from the company I was working for. I worked for a major real estate development company as a communications director. I was on a leave of absence for, I had surgery. And in that time, I started to prepare, like as I was sitting in my bed, and once I was well enough, set up, got my laptop, and I registered my company. I opened a bank account. And really in my mind, I didn't know what I was going to do with this at that moment, but I knew it was just time for me to do it. I paid attention, to what my mind was telling me, just do it. So I started doing it. And this was in November of 2008. I went back to work in January of 2009. And remember, I worked for a real estate company, a large Fortune 500 real estate company. And when I went back in January in 2008, what happened? We had the major real estate bust. So I went back and my senior vice president approached me and he said, Andrea, we're going to start downsizing. And he said, and your position is going to be downsized. And so I said, okay. So immediately I thought, oh God, I'm glad I listened to myself and registered my company. And then the next words out his mouth was, have you thought about starting your own company? And I said, I already did. And he said, even though we're going to downsize, we still need your service. And so on March the 9th, I walked out of there as a laid off employee. And on March the 12th, I walked back into that office as a consultant.
Wow.
It took me, I think I started writing this down in 2003. So it took me 6 years before I saw my entrepreneur dreams come to fruition. But in that 6 years, I was planning, I created my logo, just things. And it's funny because I actually ended up having a staff in the office, and my son came in my office one day and he just stood in the middle office and he just looked around and he saw the sign and my assistant was sitting there and everything. And I looked at him, I said, are you okay? He said, I remember when I was like 12 years old and you were sitting on the bed writing this stuff out.
Oh,
and
here
I am, I'm standing in your office. He said, I can't believe this.
Wow.
Actually did it. And I said, yeah, a dream, it takes some time. It does take time. So don't be upset if it doesn't happen right away. The thing about it is you just got to keep working at it, and you have to be persistent, and you have to make sure that you keep that dream ever present before you. It wasn't just a dream, and it wasn't a hope. It was something I knew I was going to do. And so I had to put in the time and the effort to make it work. So that's one thing that I would say, if you're trying to take your company to a next level. We live in an Instagram society where everybody want to be, social media stars.
That's right.
15 no more. So,
Yeah,
and I'm not putting my family on social media either.
Yes.
You have to understand it takes time. Things take time, especially if you want longevity in it. So, this instantaneous stuff, you might make, if you can get in and get out and make your money, that's fine. But if you're talking about longevity, understand that it's a process. It takes time. Work your dream, work it, grow it, and don't put all your eggs in one basket. A lot of people don't like to diversify their revenues. They all, I have companies I work with now. My company, 100% of our revenues come from this source. And I asked them, why? Company go out of business today, yours going out of business. So, you can't be afraid to diversify, your portfolio. Make sure you have clients. I had clients in the public sector, private sector. Most of my clients, 90% of my clients were actually in the private sector, and they came from word of mouth. Word of mouth. You got to make sure that whatever your work product is, whatever you're putting out there, that you're giving it 150%, because that next customer is probably going to come from someone that your current client knows.
Absolutely. Good points, good nuggets. Any final thoughts?
Yes. Again, entrepreneurship is, I think everybody is some type of entrepreneurship. Me, personally, I think everybody is some type of entrepreneur. I don't care what it is, I believe we all have that ability. To do with your ability. It's how you work your ability. It's how you work your craft. There's a difference between a hobby, business.
Yeah.
Difference. If my hobby is making baskets, okay, I'm gonna make baskets for these few people. But if my business is making baskets, then I'm gonna have, this basket. I'm gonna have this company basket. They distribute your products with me. Everybody basket gonna be in my store. So you understand too, there is a difference between a hobby and a business. And a business, you got to make it work. Make it work. Yeah, make it work. Get out there, get resources, use your resources like the Entrepreneurial Development Assistance Center. As an entrepreneur, I use that. That was one of my resources. There are tons of resources around. SCORE, I use SCORE. I had an awesome mentor. He taught me stuff that I had no idea existed. When he talked about employee contracts, I was done for. I was like, what? We can get a contract with each individual employee, things that I just had no idea. But the service was free to me and I used it. So I would say any business resource around that you hear about, know about, the SBA has great things on their website. I used all of those resources to help grow my business. I sat in many classes and trainings, but I also applied those things in my business. So you can sit in a training. If you don't apply it to your business, right, then what was the point of going?
Absolutely. All right, Dr. Singh, any final words?
No, I think this has been great, and it's been wonderful just listening to Andrea just talk about all of the various things that we've hit on in other sessions. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Andrea, I don't know, do you have any contact information if people want to reach out to you?
Sure, absolutely. You can always catch me on LinkedIn. I'm Andrea Jackson on LinkedIn. I haven't managed any of my business pages because I don't want to be a conflict of interest with my job. But basically, you can catch me on LinkedIn. Again, it's Andrea Garris, Garris Jackson, is where you can connect with me.
All right, good deal. Hey, Andrea, this was great. Really appreciate you. Appreciate your honesty as always. And, the information that you give out is always full of nuggets. So really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. And last thing, the Maryland Military and Women Business Conference was one of my dreams that I ran for years, helping women, active duty, and veterans and retirees become entrepreneurs. Is something that I'm still interested in, still continue to do. So I would love to connect with any women veterans. The funny thing is, at the last conference, we had the MP unit from Fort Meade showed up. I welcome them, but we just skipped the women part. We just saw the military. So we thought we would come and get the information. But I would any armed services folks who are interested in becoming an entrepreneur. Again, I work for a government agency and this is what I do all day. I would love to talk to you, help put you on the right path, and get you started into where you can do business. And as a matter of fact, I have business opportunities that are available. So if you're interested, you can always, you can connect with me on LinkedIn.
All right. Do that. Please connect with Andrea Garris Jackson on LinkedIn. And as always, if you want to see past episodes, we're at edapmorgan.com, as well as on Instagram at Wave, that's WVE Podcast. Really appreciate you again, Andrea. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, continue building capacity for your enterprise. Take care.